Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Fabian, who went from being a t-shirt printer, doing basically manual labor with no experience in digital marketing, to now being a senior specialist, paid search specialist, making between 70 and 85K in just a couple of years. Very excited to share his story with you. Thanks so much for being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth. I appreciate for being here, man. Like, I'm so excited just to tell the story. I mean, like, you did so much for me. Like, this course has done like amazing, like for me and like for my friends. And little did I know that you are like a ninja with all these people that are actually in the digital marketing field. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, and you say ninjas. And the funny thing is we were just talking about is actually a few people from the course worked at the same place where Fabian worked. Um,
Yeah.
we'll get into that in a second, but um, I'm so happy to hear that. So let's just start off with what you're doing right now. What is your position, and tell us a little bit about your job right now.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, so right now I'm a senior digital paid media manager at a current company, and what we're doing is like essentially I'm like right under the director, and we're spearheading the whole digital media sphere. So whether it comes to like Google Ads, Facebook, Bing, like Instagram, like everything, the whole shebang for B2B clients, and it's rad, man. Like I can't believe like all these years and like grinding and then like finally being in this kind of position is it's exciting, man. It's cool.
That's awesome. And so you took the course back in 2017. So you're like, you've moved up to a senior position at this point. Um, and let's let's basically walk people back. I know this is what we always do in these interviews, to like your story of how you got to this position from where you were. So what were you doing when you found the course?
Yeah, actually, I was actually working at like a print shop, man. So I was like printing T-shirts for a living, and I was like working for the in this warehouse, and like I would work like second shift and swing shift and night shift, just trying to like like make it like a little bit above minimum wage at the time. And it was crazy because like I was just like, how do I get a job, like a better paying job, and like just not get stuck in this like rut, like literally swing shift, right? So I was like just looking up different things like online, and like I was like so hungry. I was listening to podcasts at the time because they were so huge, and I was like, okay, like entrepreneurship, like all this kind of stuff. And then like I somehow found your course through YouTube, and like I think it was just, I searched for like high paying jobs without a 4 year degree because I was still like in community college at the time. And I found your course through like Engineer Truth back in the day. And then like I saw you're doing interviews, and I'm like, dude, this isn't real. This is not true. So like I started like looking it up, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, it is. Okay, cool. So let's try to take this like this course. And I took your course, which was awesome. And I was like, okay, how can I leverage this? How can I utilize this skill set and like somehow turn it into like a job, or turn it into a business, right? So at the time, a couple of my friends started this like page. It was called Motivation Daily, and we were like just throwing out like random quotes on Instagram, on Facebook, and like we had no idea what we were doing, but I needed to learn, okay, how do I do digital media? How do I do this stuff? So as I was taking your course, I was like, okay, so I got to learn this stuff. I got to learn Google Ads. I got to learn like this whole thing. And I just created a website. And I literally like at the time talked to my employer, who was like the print shop people, right? And I'm like, maybe I can just make t-shirts, and like I can do t-shirts at the same time and then try to create something. So I created something, and I made a website. I learned Google Ads. I got my certifications and everything, and I did that for a while, just to get like some experience. And as I was doing that, getting that experience, I utilized that, and like I used that as my jumping off point for my interview. I was like, okay, yeah, I have this website, I've done all this stuff. And I literally remember you had like descriptions of like what to say, like in your like resume and stuff like that. So I was like, literally, okay, maybe I can use that. I'll use that one. Okay, I'll use this one. And I utilized all that stuff. And I interviewed for a position at the time, was a paid media specialist. And I thought if I was just to go in there and just like walk in, that I would be able to get this job, right? Because I was just like, okay, this is possible. This is real. Like I can do this. So I remember going into this office and I walked in and I talked to the HR lady and I was like, you know what, give me like the VP of this company. Let me talk to the VP of this company and let me like just talk to him, see if I can get hired through him. He wasn't there. Okay, I can talk to the owner. Okay, is the owner there? The HR lady was like, no. Dang. All right, is like the COO there or something? Because like it was like a smaller company, right? So and she was like, no, but the director of pay media is here, and I was like, okay, that's my in. Okay, I can I meet her? Can I just put like a name to a face or something, right? And I got the interview right that day. And as I got the interview that day, I remember like during the times like there was like a whole month span where I just learned everything you had in the course, and I took like these study guide notes, and like every hour I was just like reading and learning, right? So I utilized all that stuff so I know what to say like during the interview, and I knew like what to do, right? So as now jumping back to the story, like as I was going doing this interview, I talked to her and I give her all the information. She gained like trust and she started like saying, okay, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do in this scenario? And like, keep in mind, like I barely had any knowledge of this. I was just like, I just launched a website and I just like did what I could. And I was like, literally like, I don't know, like figuring it out as I go. And I utilized that, man, and like it worked. And like I not only did I get interviewed that day, I got hired, and I got called back that day, and I got hired that day, and they gave me the offer letter, and the rest was history, man. Like I just like went off, and I got so stoked. And like just to tell you like how hungry I was, man, I got two Google case studies under my belt. I had one for auto for like doing like two for auto, one for doing like automated bidding and another one for local campaigns. And like I got it all there. And then a few years afterwards, I was like, okay, I think it's my time to leave. I'm going to go ahead and look for a better paying position. And now I got a better paying position. So it's like full circle, man. It's crazy.
I think you just like walked us through it. I didn't have to ask you anything. That was great.
Yeah,
That's
man.
awesome, and what a great example of the right attitude mixed with the skills. That's really your enthusiasm for. I mean, you know, you basically walked in there, and yeah, that's fantastic. So that was turnkey, right?
Yeah, yeah. I started there. Like someone gave me an opportunity, man, and I took that opportunity and went for it, and I just went like full throttle, bro. And like I
What
love it,
happened
man.
when? What happened as far as the course goes? You know,
Yeah,
you're such a great example of how to do everything right. You learned the language, you did your experience. Yeah, I mean, I have more than just like an example. I have a whole section on the resume, like,
yeah.
yeah, and the interview. Um, but tell us about the person you met when you started working there.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. I think you interviewed him not too long ago. His name was Jeremy, and it was one day like I even remember my boss and I were talking at the time, and we're like, should I hire this guy? And I'm like, yeah, he seems like a cool guy. Like we like talked to him on the phone, like, and when he did get hired, I ended up talking to him for like an hour and a half. We were at a pub, like just drinking some beers. I'm like, hey, how'd you get started in digital marketing? He's like, well, I took this course, online. And I'm like, wait, you took a course online? What course did you take? And he's like, oh, I took like Seth Himes course, like like the like learning Google Ads and stuff. I'm like, no way, I took that course. So like it was like crazy, because that's why I was saying you're a ninja, because like all these people in the digital marketing sphere somehow know your course and somehow like get started with your course. So I was like super stoked, man. Like the rest was his. I still even talked to Jeremy. I talked to him today. I was on a phone call with him, just like saying, oh, what's up, man? Like, how are you doing? Like, where are you at? And like it's awesome, bro.
That's really exciting, man. And so you had this career change from being like a machine or a t-shirt
Yeah.
printer to digital marketer. How do you like your new career?
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. Like waking up like at 7, like I'll literally start at 7, right? And working from home is like so amazing now, especially because like I don't have to go into the office, but I love it, man. Like I don't have to like be like working in the middle of the night like until like the crack of dawn just to start like making some bucks, man. Like I get to do what I love, man, and it's super cool. I love it. I wouldn't
That's
change it for the world.
fantastic. And so yeah, so you were working overnight shifts, you were saying before this.
Yeah, man. I remember okay, so just to backtrack, I worked like some shifts were like starting at 9 p.m., working till 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes I would do double shifts. It was crazy. I would work till like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, go to bed for 2 hours in my car, and then start again for another like set of 8 hours just to get like, because like I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, but I want to make some money. So like, I mean, when I was younger, I was like, I really like super enthusiastic. And even now, dude, doing digital marketing, Google ads and Bing ads, and like I'm now learning like JavaScript and all this stuff just to like get an edge in digital marketing, like to stand above, other people and like create crazy scripts, so
Yeah. So, so great. So, going back to your first job when you had no previous experience, just tell us a little bit about that in terms of like, what were your responsibilities? Like, how much ad spend were you managing, coming from no experience? Like, what was it like?
yeah, it was crazy because like before I got the digital marketing job, I just started with a couple $1,000s. Like we would start with campaigns, we'd talk to influencers and like have people like wear our shirts and like just put on motivational quotes. And at the same time I was like, is there any one of my friends like I can help to do this? And like I remember like talking to my other friends that were doing like print shops and that were just like working at print shops. I was like, hey, do you need digital marketing? Do you need a GMB? Do you need like some sort of help? And then like they were like, oh yeah, we need this little website set up, we need this GMB set up. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Do you have any Google ad spend? I'm like, yeah, okay, like a couple $100, $1,000. And I started there, and it was cool. It got me enough experience to like get my foot in the door, because you really realistically, I think you just have to prove to people that you can do the job. And if you know the stuff, and you prove to them that you're capable of doing it, you can go like so far with this, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
And just to
once I
interrupt you
got to that,
just quickly,
yeah.
don't lose your train of thought. And this is a point I make to my students again and again. I'll keep repeating it. It's like Kyan, who we interviewed a few weeks ago, got the $20 an hour job. He's 20 years old, never went to college. He, his Google campaign was literally $38. So you don't even have to spend thousands. You just have to get that. If you get that minimal experience, you're ahead of 90% of the other people out there. So people, I keep stressing that because I know that message, people think, oh, I need to have managed all this stuff before. No, this is how all these people that got all these jobs, nobody had huge budgets. So yeah, so you had, that's really entrepreneurial of you. You reached out to your friends, you were doing your own sites. And so then what happened at the agency?
So at the agency, I started with like, I think a couple $100,000 a month. And then I worked up to almost half a million a month. And then before I left, I was at 1.8, like over $1 million a month. But just doing it with a team, right? So like it gradually increased as I was going. As I was like, getting a manager position and getting, like interim director and like just doing stuff. And I think a lot of the times as you dive deep and you learn, you just gotta do it, man. You like don't. A lot of people have these imposter syndrome. Like they have like this fear of like, I don't think I can. But once you let go of that fear and just attempt to do it, like, you know, you can. So
Absolutely. And did you feel, I mean, that's a huge point. We can do a whole other course on that. People have this, the imposter syndrome, which is a cute name that I think only surfaced a few years ago. They didn't ever had that term when I was younger. You'd say you feel like a fraud. Or you
yeah,
feel like
yeah, for sure.
a poser maybe, but it's all in your head because like I said, this is how it works with so many, you watch these interviews. That's what happened to me. I tell you, when I got hired, I had only worked on my own websites. I didn't know anything. I shouldn't say I didn't know anything. I knew enough to get going, but then they
Yeah,
handed me $100,000 a month in monthly ad spend. And I remember actually saying to my boss, I was like, are you guys sure you guys want to give me
yeah,
this? And actually I said, you probably had a supervisor like this too, that helped you. My guy was like, it's fine. I said, we're going to
yeah,
help you. Just
a hundred
relax,
percent,
which is good
a
advice for
hundred percent.
anybody in this field. Like, relax a little bit. Don't lose your edge, but relax.
Exactly,
You can't control
exactly.
everything. You have to be on top of things, but you have to also allow for, the process. Um, so that's really exciting, man. And what was I going to say? Yeah, you're saying it went up gradually. Let me ask you this though. Did you feel
Mhm.
like the foundations that you got in the course did that help prepare you for this?
100%. Yeah. And keep in mind, like I'm not like a super smart guy or like a super studious guy. Like I graduated high school with a 2.9 GPA, so like I was like your average dude. And I think the biggest impact was like believing that it's possible for one, and not needing to spend like $60,000 to get a degree to get a decent job, right? So those two things really helped me, and then it like pushed me to the point where I was like where I told myself I gotta just like study, even though I'm not a studious person. I gotta figure this out until like it's ingrained in my mind. So if somebody asks me about like clicks, click through rate, search impression share, like Google Analytics, like pages per session, all this stuff, I can just like straight up like just talk to them like it's like cake, you know what I mean? Like we're having one-on-one conversation. And if I got that down, then I can just, the sky's the limit. Like we can keep on going with it. So yeah, man, like your course did wonders. And like I remember like creating, I would pause the video and I would pause the video and I would look at, okay, that's important, that's important, that's important. Okay, let's use, at the time, I think, I don't know if it's still around, but like these study notes where you just flip the card or whatever. I forgot what website it is, but it literally will give you a definition or like a phrase, and you just have to like say it in your head. If you say it right, you flip it over, it's a great good answer, and you keep on going. So I just did that, and it was like, I mean, when I got interviewed, like I got hired that same day, so it was worth it.
Let's just get a little more into you as a person. I'm just curious. So like how, in terms of your lifestyle and your like, your life, this change, how did it affect you and say your family? I don't know if you're married or you have, you're close with your family or anything. How did that whole
Yeah.
transition affect all that stuff, like your
I mean,
friends, your family?
I think it affected my whole entire life. I think one thing for sure, because now I'm married and I have a kid coming on the way, and I have a home, and I I'm just like grateful, right? Because um, I'm an avid learner, so like I literally love to read, and like just personally, I love to read and love to learn. And like my wife and I also own a business, and like we just do. She does skincare, and she like literally like works across the street from where we live, and like I just like help her manage stuff. And then I do this on, and I do like digital media for a living, and like it's just amazing, man, because like I can like literally like I'll be working here and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go downstairs, go drink some water or something, go to backyard work. Like I just think it's like the coolest thing ever, because coming from like printing, going like working at a print shop and like driving an hour and a half just to get to the sweatshop and work, and then like be super tired for the next day. And like I mean like i I think it took me to a point where like, because I always entrepreneur too, because I always wanted to like own businesses, and it got me to the point where like, okay, I can do this, but I can also do it at home. Like I don't have to have a brick and mortar. I can literally work online and do like anything online, right? And that created that for me. So I think it was awesome, for sure.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And and what did your family think of your career change, or your wife?
Um, it was actually before I got married, so like that I got the job. But my parents thought I was like, they wanted me to get a 4 year degree. They wanted me to like, because I come from like an immigrant family, so my parents came from like Boonies, Guadalajara, Mexico, like not knowing anything, like Pueblo, like oh, like literally like immigrating, right? They like came illegally, and like they later got their residency and everything, but like they always thought that you had to get a 4 year degree. And I was always like, okay, I'm not really that good at like the college, but I'm going to give it a shot. And I think it even took me like a lot longer to get two associate degrees than your average person. I think I was stuck in community college for 5 years, I think. So, and I was just like in the middle of that. I just took your course like while I was in, like I don't even remember college, working, and taking your course, and I just had to stop one in order to get to this next thing. And I did it, and I was like, okay, I just have to think creatively, because I don't, my network wasn't that huge, wasn't that big, right? And at the time I was like really shy, and I didn't like feel like I could go to like random people or random businesses and tell them like, hey, here's what's up. So I just thought like, creating that website would be cool. But it changed my life, man. I think the they genuinely thought I was crazy. I even remember like, um, I didn't even tell you this part actually. I had an apartment that I was paying rent for, and I told myself I want to be able to pay for this apartment while I was working at this sweatshop. So I worked this sweatshop, and I was trying to get another job just so I can pay rent to have an apartment. And I think it was like a month or 2 months into it, I was like, I'm taking this course, but I'm going to quit my job. And it's not something that everybody does, right? Because you're like, dude, that's really high risk, man. And I was like, but it's going to push me. So I quit my job, and I was taking your course. And within a month span, after everything was done, I got the job. So it came in the nick of time, but I was like stressed. I was stressed out of my balls, dude. I was just like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do? And then I remember spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day for 30 days learning everything. And once I got sick of the voice, once I got done with it, I was like, okay, 40 minute. Okay, I studied for 40 minutes, 50 minutes. I'm gonna go take a quick 10-minute walk and come back. Okay, I'm gonna try Pomodoro's method. I'm gonna try this different stuff. And I was just like, you know, I gotta go for it. If I don't, my life's not gonna get better. So
That's
yeah.
awesome, dude. And guys, yeah, disclaimer, don't quit your day job until, I
Yeah.
did the same thing when I was, in my career. I started a business and I quit my job and I went, for some people, it's a great motivator.
Hmm.
And other times it can be like put so much pressure on you that it messes your head. So take
Yeah.
it with a grain of salt. And remember my thing, and like, I think it's amazing is you put 100% focus, you followed what I said, and within a month of finishing the course and getting prepared, you did get a job. And that's amazing. And I also just qualify that to people to say, it's not like everyone's time frame is different.
Yeah,
um,
man.
so that people aren't watching and like, I'm going to quit my job. And it's like, you have to
Yeah.
be in the right place where it's right for you, and then quit it. Actually, we could do a whole other video about when it's the right time to quit a job, because I'm an expert at that. I've quit a lot of jobs. I've been fired. I don't know how many times. I think I only got fired one time, but I've quit many times. And sometimes it was, sometimes I regretted it, but most of the time it was the right move. So I could probably do a course on like the right time to quit your job. Um, but yeah, everyone's different, man. It's a different mindset. Like I said, some people it pushes you and gives you that motivation. Other people, it could be like, it could put you into a paralysis from overthinking. So you have to know your own personality. But just going back to your parents for a second. So, all right, they think you need a 4-year degree. They want you to get your, your associates. You quit your job and start taking this course. What is their response when when you do that, and then B, when you actually get the job?
Yeah. The response was like, Mijo, you're so blessed. You're blessed, man. Like you did it. Like you're lucky to get this job. So even then, like they were just like, how did like they thought it was great that I got the job and that I got a higher paying job, but at the same time they were like, oh, there's something going on. Like why do you got this? And to this day, man, like because they're old school, they still don't fully understand what I do. Like it's okay. And like I tell them like how much like I'm making now, and they're like, oh wow, that's awesome. You know, you have a lot of favor. You have God's favor. You got to be blessed. And like, thank you. I appreciate that. Like that's so good. And like I love it. You know, and like I love my parents, and like like I'm a firm believer in Christianity, but like at the same time, like I'm just like, you just got to go for it, man. Like I think a lot of times people equate like good luck or fortune for like just those people that are lucky, but you just make it, dude. You just, if you work hard and you really dedicate and you like really learn, like you can get there. um and I think even in high school, like I'll just backtrack a little bit. Even in high school, like my personality, I always thought I would need a 4-year degree. I always thought I would need a master's to like get like a high paying job or get something that's worth it. But reality, like after years progress, I'm like, no, man, you just gotta dive deep and learn something, learn a skill set and just dive into it and just do it. So
Absolutely. And it's funny. I make this distinction. Yeah, there's a difference between luck and fortune. I had to
yeah,
learn that as you know, I struggled in my 20s and my 30s. I started to get it together. I got into digital marketing. I was able to build my own business, and I learned the difference. Luck is just luck. Luck is complete chance. Fortune is actually when you've invested in something and you've built something. So you have good
yeah,
fortune. You invested in a skill set. You invested your time and your energy into it. And so you've created good fortune. So they look similar, but it's important because then you can be accountable for your success, you know,
Exactly.
and you know, and in my life, and everyone has it too, you can be accountable for when you weren't successful too. But
Yeah.
in your case, you've been very successful, and that's really sweet about your parents. You know, I have my parents aren't. Everyone's parents are like that to a degree in terms they don't understand what you do, and that's great. And I
Yeah.
always thought, you know, that's what the reason there's still so many opportunities in this field is because nobody understands what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and it's a
Exactly.
wonderful thing to do stuff nobody understands because you get paid well. And the beautiful part is that, as you've said, it's not like coding or rocket science or neuroscience where you have to study for years and years, or it's very, very super analytical. It is analytical, but you know, if I think this is very inspiring. It's like if somebody who had a 2 point something GPA in high school, spent 5 years in community college, can be this successful and do so well, you can too. You know, you just have to have the drive for it. And you know, I was a good student in school, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, if anything, I found, you know, in my life, people who don't have degrees and have more kind of a direct intelligence do better. You know, when you spend all that time in school, man, it screws up your head. You have to unlearn, you know, even the way they teach writing. I had to, like, some people I think do learn to write well, but if you spend too much time writing essays and stuff, you come into the real world. And like, I remember I've seen, and when I was hiring people, I could tell the people that went to college, and sometimes it was just brutal. Their cover letters were so long and so overly convoluted,
Yeah.
so
I feel that.
bloviated. Like, and I have a vocabulary like so blown up about like themselves and their degree or whatever. And then like someone like you would come along and you're just like, hey, I can do the job. I'm super into this, you know? And it's like,
Yeah.
you don't have that ego. Um, so yeah, we could talk about college a whole other time, but I'm just,
Yeah, man.
I'm really happy for you. I'm really thrilled. And, you know, you're still at the beginning of your career, even though you're senior specialist. And by the way, man, I mean, it's between you and me. I mean, you should keep growing, obviously, in your field. You could be making more. I don't think it's not a knock on what you're doing now at all, but like
Yeah.
you have massive value going on, you
Thanks,
know?
man.
I mean,
I
for what you
appreciate that.
did and what you're doing now, I don't know. Do you still get hit up by recruiters?
All the time, man. I still get hit up by recruiters all the time. Um, Great. Okay, so I got to tell you this part too. Here's a crazy thing. Um, so when I got hired at the first position, right, as a specialist, I went to a church, and that same church I met, like, I had friends and pastors, right? And little did I know that the person that I spent, like, all my friends that I spent, the household that I spent most of my time with, their dad knew the owners of the company that I eventually worked for. So the trippiest thing was, like, I could have met these owners a long time ago, but I didn't. Like, I just, like, thought it was like the coolest thing. I don't know. I thought, like, and when I met them, I met the owner, and I just talked to him. I was like, oh wait, so you know this person, you know this person, you know this person, and like, I practically grew up at this home. Like, how come I never met you before? And it was just such a trip to me, man, because like, there's like this thing, I don't know what it's called, like, there you're two people away from meeting the people that, like, you work for. Like, it's, I forgot what quote it is. I'm butchering it like big time, but you're two people away from, like, making like your next big step, essentially, right? Or you're the person that you need to meet in order to get to the next level in your career. So I just thought about that randomly, and I was like, dude, that's pretty cool. Like, I was just like one person away from meeting the owner that I could have, like, done this like way earlier in Vest without working for a
Yeah.
print shop. So it was just cool.
It all works out when it's supposed to. That's really, you know, dude, you know, I'm into spirituality, and these things are not coincidences. I believe that we
Yeah.
create our own reality and stuff. So it makes perfect sense to me. And it's also really, I see these connections happen all the time. Even we just
Yeah.
interviewed Kayla, and she got this great job at this new company, and like her immediate supervisor, not only, this was like the same kind of coincidence. Like, not only did they both live in Missouri, because it's a team, it's a remote team, so everyone's from all over the country. But her immediate supervisor is also from her state. But the guy also had a science background, and she had a science background. I don't know if you saw that interview, but like they're both in the sciences and they were bonding over that. So these types of coincidences, and then the fact, I think, like, dude, you talk about synchronicity, like two people from my course were at your agent. You know, you guys are both at the same agency. And then literally this morning before the interview, I get an email from your agency asking for a reference.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy, dude.
this stuff is like beautiful. And it all,
Yeah.
you know, reminds me of like when I started the course. Like, you know, I don't talk about this too much, but I literally was in Costa Rica. I had was down there to help out somebody with some organization. This is before, like, this is when I was in the middle of my transition from, like, you know, freelancing, you know, career to freelancing to then, you know, teaching this. And I literally had a vision of this course. And it was a very spiritual place I was in. And I was like, I had never been that like clear in my creativity. You know, I just saw the course and I saw the vision and what it could provide people. And I remember it was cool because I think I had been thinking about it, but when I was in this like retreat place, I just was just typing. Everyone else is meditating and smoking weed or whatever. And I'm typing up this course and I had this vision, you know, and then, you know, we put it out there and, you know, it's been amazing, the connections that people have made. So I think that's awesome. They were right next door. What is it? The Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home.
There's no place like home, man. There's
Yeah.
no place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, wonderful. So, is there anything else you want to share or say before we complete the interview? Anything you want to say to anyone who's watching?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like don't let your doubt dictate where you're gonna go. Just go for it. Take his course, learn digital marketing, and it's possible. You can get a great job doing this, and it's only growing. So that's all I want to say. And you can follow me too. I mean, you can message me on LinkedIn if you want. I'll help you out.
That's so great, man. Thanks so much. All right, man. Yeah, thank you, Fabian. Thank you for sharing your story, your enthusiasm, everything. It's been really great talking to you. And definitely we'll do a follow-up in like a year and we'll see how far you've come since then. But until then, thanks again so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Good seeing you, Seth. Thanks, man.